Good morning, children. Today in English in class 11, we continue the play Mother's Day. And just to recall what we talked about earlier, that Annie Pearson has told George Pearson that he is not respected at the club where he goes every single evening, and people make fun of him and they call him Pompey Pearson because of his behavior, as he thinks that he is a very important personality and that everybody waits for him. All this George finds incredible. It's unbelievable and he is not prepared to accept it. And he confirms the truth from his son, Cyril. Now Cyril gets angry with the mother that why does she have to say all that to the father, because he is so very hurt. In fact, even Cyril expresses his feeling that he is also very hurt, as there is so much of unpleasantness at home. So Annie is trying to assure him that it is sometimes good that people have their feelings hurt, and after some time George Pearson would be better, that he would at least be aware of what nobody has told him and he is not realized it himself also. So we see that Annie Pearson, possibly you do, but what I doubt is whether your opinion is worth having. So she says that George Pearson is spoiled and so are the children, Doris and Cyril. So she says that I'm not interested in knowing your opinion. And further she says, what you know, that means you don't know anything at all. That is, she is worldly wise and is also telling Cyril that he does not realize. She says further, you spend too much time and good money. That means that it's only that when he goes to the office is okay, but otherwise every evening he's also away for his outings, and so much of time is wasted according to her, and good money and money which he earns, a lot of money is spent unnecessarily. How that is spent unnecessarily? That is, she feels that a greyhound actually is a breed. It's a slender breed of dogs, and a greyhound races, so he spends his time and money over there. So this greyhound races is a swift, slender breed of dog which is used in racing. And dirt tracks where there are racing courses for motorcycles, and ice shows which where there is entertainment shows by ice skaters. So she feels that a lot of time is spent and money wasted in these places because he's not gaining anything out of it. So that is what she expresses now, what she exactly feels about him and how he wastes his time and good money as well. Cyril is sulky. He is irritated now. He does not like all this criticism that is coming from the mother. He is not aware that it is not Annie Pearson, his mother, but it is a personality of Mrs. Fitzgerald in Annie Pearson that's saying all this. So he is obviously irritated. Well, what if I do? So he says that what if I do? That means that money that I earn, I have a right to spend it the way I do. I've got to enjoy myself somehow, haven't I? So he says that he deserves to have a break. He is working hard and therefore he needs to have a change and he has to enjoy himself as well. So that's how he spends his time and money at all these places. So the mother now responds, I won't mind so much if you were really enjoying yourself. That means the mother agrees that yes, he has a right to enjoy himself, but she says that I really don't feel that you are actually enjoying all this. But are you? So there's a question mark, that is, but are you? That means, are you really enjoying yourself? That means no doubt he spends so much time outside at these places, at the greyhound races and dirt tracks and ice shows and all, and she feels that he doesn't really enjoy himself as such. But where is it getting you? That means how is it going to help you? How is it going to enable you to be a better person? Might be for me, I'll see. So Cyril says that he is not prepared to accept this criticism from the mother, and he simply lets it be, and then there is a knock at the door. So he goes out to see who is at the doorstep. It's that, and then he returns. It's a silly old bag from next door. That silly old bag, that is an unpleasant elderly woman old bag. So here it is Mrs. Fitzgerald, Annie Pearson's friend and her neighbor. So he is addressing her as an old bag from next door. Mrs. Fitzgerald, you don't want her here, do you? So he didn't even allow his mother to complete, and he says that is this old bag, that is Mrs. Fitzgerald has come at the door, that she is the one who has knocked at the door, and now he is telling the mother that you don't want her to come and see you now. And the mother responds, certainly I do. That means definitely she answers in the affirmative, that she definitely wants her to come in and spend time with her. Ask her in, that means bring her in, please request her to come in. And don't call her a silly old bag either, that means, and don't call her, that means after all she's older in age, Cyril is a young boy, and she says that don't call her and don't address her as an old bag either. He says that that is not justified at all. She is a very nice woman. So she lets Cyril know that she is such a nice woman with a lot more sense than you will ever have. That meant that she is conveying the fact that Mrs. Fitzgerald is a nice person and she is more sensible than him. So she definitely wishes her to come in and spend time with her. So she is told Cyril to bring her in. So she is brought in now. Come in, Mrs. Fitzgerald. So Annie Pearson welcomes her friend, her neighbor, Mrs. Fitzgerald, very warmly. Now, we know that the magic which Mrs. Fitzgerald had cast, by means of that spell, the personality of the two ladies had got exchanged. Now we see Mrs. Fitzgerald, but she has the personality of Annie Pearson, who is uncertain, she is very docile, and she is not at all bold like the other lady. So now she is asking, I just wondered. This is showing how uncertain she is of herself, how she is not confident enough. She is asking, she is telling her friend that just wondered if everything is all right. Now she, in the presence of Cyril, she can't say much, but she just gives the aim of her visit, that she just dropped in just to see that everything was going on well. And Cyril says, no, it isn't. Sulkily, that means he is irritated, and he says things are not all right. And Annie Pearson sharply responds to that, of course it is, you be quiet. So she tells Cyril to be quiet, that everything is fine and there's no anxiety or there's no worry at all. Cyril is answering, why should I be quiet? Now he is indignant, that means he is annoyed because he is not being treated well by the mother. So obviously he is annoyed at that. So he is telling the mother that why should I be quiet? So that was a very rude, a very brusque way of talking and speaking with the mother. Because I tell you to, you silly. So Annie Pearson takes him off and tells him that because she has asked him to be quiet, so that is reason enough for him to be quiet. And Mrs. Fitzgerald now is protesting, oh no, surely that means that Mrs. Fitzgerald, who has the personality of Annie Pearson, is nervously speaking up that please don't have an argument and don't say anything to Cyril. She does not want this unpleasantness. So she is very scared. She is not confident enough and she is scared also. So she does not want there to be any further argument. Now Mrs. Fitzgerald, just let me manage my family in my own way, please. Now Mrs. Pearson, who has the personality of Mrs. Fitzgerald, speaks up. She says that this is my family and I can manage my family in my own way. So she's asking, in other words, not to interfere in her family matters, because she had just asked Cyril to be quiet, and Cyril did not like it. He did not appreciate that. Rather, he was very angry and upset about it also, and asking and rather arguing with the mother. So that is the reason why Annie Pearson tells Mrs. Fitzgerald that she can stay out of her family matters. She knows how to manage her family. And now Mrs. Fitzgerald responds, yes, but Cyril. Now obviously Mrs. Fitzgerald has the personality of Annie Pearson. So obviously she is accustomed to calling Cyril by his first name. And now Cyril does not like it. He does not appreciate. He gets angry that why she has called him by the first name, because he is not very familiar with her. So he says he is sulking, he's irritated, and he's angry also and furious. So he says, Mr. Cyril Pearson to you, please, Mrs. Fitzgerald. So he does not appreciate the idea of Mrs. Fitzgerald addressing him as Cyril. He wants to be addressed as Mr. Cyril Pearson, because he does not know her very well. So therefore he feels offended. He does not like it, and he feels very offended that she has called him by his first name and she should be calling him as Mr. Cyril Pearson, because they are formal. They are not very familiar with each other. So that is what he did not like, and then he walked away from the room. Thank you.